My name is Karin Vernazza. I'm a captain in the United States Navy, and currently I'm the HR Total Force Management Director at Naval Sea Systems Command here at the Washington Navy Yard in D.C. Well, I graduated from the United States Naval Academy, and at the time we did not have, women couldn't go into combatant commands. And I started off in the fleet support community. And that over time, and as HR kind of got a seat at the table and realizing how important it is to manage your personnel budgets and requirements. The Navy transformed. Women can now go on combatants, and different fields arose, HR being one of them, IT being another one during the 90s. And most of my background was in development and training, so HR was a perfect segment for that. And that happened about 2002, so about 8 years after the combat exclusion law. And the Navy really took a step forward in saying, as we develop this HR community, that we're going to work hard on certification, realizing what the comparable was out in the civilian economy. So since then, the entire HR community, which is about 600 officers, both male and female, and we've promoted both initially getting your PHR and then getting your SPHR. I think for us, because we didn't have a core competency in it and getting really truly experts at it, I think we're finding that we are managing our personnel so much better. I mean, there used to be dramatic shifts, and we get controlled. I mean, if there's a war, obviously we have to recruit to higher numbers a lot faster, train personnel, and we don't have these big swings between, egress and regress, in terms of coming in and going out. And we have an all-volunteer force now. We've had that for almost 40 years, which is amazing. Before, people were drafted, and you can turn that spigot on, you can turn that spigot off. But when you have a all-volunteer and professional force, big difference. You want to manage your workforce. It is it's the best military organization we've had ever in the history of our government. And we want to manage it. It's talented. Everybody is extremely talented. They come in, they're volunteers. We teach them a trade. And most people only stay in 5 to 7 years. They get out, and you have to manage that. It's an up or out organization, and it has very strict guidelines directed by Congress. So you want to keep the best talented personnel in, and it's a challenge to do that. I think in the late 90s, or maybe the mid-90s, when we had the dot-com boom, and a lot of our great talent, wanted to walk out the door, and how do you manage that? And so you really realize the importance of having a career certified HR officer really is. Well, we're very competitive, so everybody, I think most of my peers probably have their SPHR. At least more than half of our HR community. You probably won't get promoted. It's not a requirement, although it's very much peer pressure, which I think is a great thing. I think that's what gives us credibility. When I met with my HR counterparts out in this corporate world trying to help veterans get employed, those that were SPHR, it was a direct connection. Okay, I get you, you understand, I know your level of education, I know your experience level. And I think that's why they came to me. I think that helped build that bridge. And this was in California, but I'm just seeing it explode. Again, people really like the rubric. They've asked me to come speak to them about it. They really want to help hire the veterans, and I'm more than happy to do so. We're a great, talented force, and we're your force, quite honestly. This is the civilian, this is your military. And I'm excited to help, you understand us a little more, because again, we're only 1% of the population. If you think back, 20, 30 years ago, everybody had somebody, a close relative in the military or somebody that has served, and now it's a very distant few. And that's, I guess that's a good thing. We don't have a draft, but it's also, a disheartening thing too. We don't want to see that separation gap. We want you to embrace your military. And actually there's a great sea of goodwill out there that we see for both our wounded warriors and our veterans. The response has been just so positive, and they see the talent, and they see the the hardworking spirit that our military brings to their organization. So that's just been a wonderful, story that needs to come out and is getting shared. I would say the HR professionals across the board in every service, the predominance of it is a lot of administration and bureaucratic system. I mean, they're just the best. They are really, they make the organization run. They're kind of in that backbone, and most of them go, and the certification really helps them feel that value, feel that that credibility. Once they get that certification, you can just see it, because it's not easy. It's not an easy test. And that's good, because that means it's really worth its value. You really have to know the laws, particularly in SPHR. I mean, you need to know the rules and the laws in PHR, but SPHR and global PHR, you need to know the rules. And we do go globally too, which I think is a critical piece to add to this puzzle. We work with other countries when we're living in those countries, and that's a little different on the military side. When we go to live in, whether it's Japan or Italy or even in England, South America, I mean, these are areas that we work in and day out. So they know that when they're going to get out, and we are going to all get out at some point. You can't stay in. I mean, usually 20 years when you can reach retirement, 30 years is the max. We're all living with the demographics, going to be living to 100. So this is probably a first career. They know they're going to have to go on to a second career, and having that certification just puts them at that, the highest level that they could be at for their profession, and it's, makes them more marketable, hands down. And corporations know that, and I think that's what's helpful too. It's like, wow, you're SPHR certified and you're in the military. There's a direct correlation there. Hired. They'll be able to easily just put a dot right exactly where they fit in, because it's corresponding to what the HR fields recognize. And that was the key point, was putting the titles that were civilian specific, not military specific. So it was really made for the HR hiring director or that person on the hiring panel. That's what this was made for. But what we found out was that everybody in the military loves it too. So it helps them understand the civilian side, and they can just pick out and then they can understand where they fit in terms of experience. So, I mean, that's been the fabulous. And what's helpful is if you see and you want to put, the person, on the block and say it was an E9. This is a friend of mine. She said, well, Karin, I'm an E9 and I have my master's degree. I said, yes, Master Chief, that means that you're off the charts, and that you are excelling above and beyond this basic rubric. So then, of course, they're happy, like, oh, hey, that works for me, but it also helps the person on the other end said, okay, you were in 20 years and here's where you are and this is your education level. Okay, why didn't you go, why weren't you at the advanced level, or did you get any other certifications? So it helps that dynamic in exchange, and I think it helps just translate and lets people communicate at a more comfortable level, so they're not trying to educate everybody. It's difficult. The military is a very complex organization, and this was just designed to kind of keep it simple, help each other, get the talent that you want in your organization and that they want to be part of. So I'm hoping it's a win-win.